that much. I'll tell you what I thought campaign financial disclosure meant at the time. What I thought it meant was that if you were running for governor, you had to sit down and declare if you did business, if you had stock, for example, in any company that does business with New York State. I'd be happy to tell you what stocks I own. I'd be embarrassed to show you how little stock I own, but I would certainly tell you what companies I do business with. I have no problem doing that. And that's what I thought campaign financial disclosure was. Those laws were set up to make sure that some guy who has a big fancy campaign war chest isn't taking that money and putting it in his own pocket. That to me was financial disclosure. So I didn't know much about the issue, and when I looked into it, I hired a bunch of lawyers. I now have 3 lawyers on the payroll, and I'm spending countless, endless amounts of money trying to figure out this whole financial disclosure situation. Now, I figured I had it covered. When I realized I didn't have it covered and that they wanted me to disclose my entire income to everybody, I said to the lawyers, let's go ahead and file suit. Let's fight this thing. Well, I have a problem on my hands. This guy, this judge somewhere says, no, you got to file. You've got to tell us how much money you make. And while I've told you everything about myself, and I've been telling you about myself since the first day I started broadcasting, there's only one fact I never revealed. I never told you how much money I made. I never told you how much money I have in the bank. And the reason I never told you how much money I have in the bank is because it's none of your business. It'll never be any of your business. It has nothing to do with me running for government, and that's for sure. That I know. If you know tomorrow how much money I have in the bank, it doesn't affect anything about me being governor of New York. So if you want to know how much money I make, screw you. I am never going to tell you how much money I make. I'm not going to tell anybody. Over the 20 years that I've been broadcasting, I've told you about my mother and father, I've told you about my sister, I told you about my diet, I told you about my cars, I told you about my associates, I told you about my general manager, Tom Ciapisano. I told you everything. I told you every one of my political views. It's been discussed, no matter how politically incorrect it's been. But I'm not going to tell you what's none of your business. And if the purpose of this stupid financial disclosure is to tell you who I do business with and what firms I hold stock in, I will gladly list those for you. I have a contract with Infinity Broadcasting and a film company, and I have a contract with a TV company. All of these companies that pay my salary prohibit me from discussing the financial terms in any form. And I don't mind telling you what money where I keep my money. I don't mind telling you what bank my money is in, so that I don't show that bank any favoritism when I am governor. But I just don't think I have to tell you how much money I have in that bank.
You really have become a politician. You're putting everybody to sleep.
I am not. Is anybody sleeping?
Doug Johnson just fell against the wall back there.
Doug Johnson fell against the wall 20 years ago. But Robin, I'm asking everyone, will that help you in your decision as to whether or not you're going to vote for Pataki, Cuomo, or Howard Stern, how much money I have in the bank? I still don't understand it. How does that affect your decision? If I told you right now that I have $15 in my pocket, does that affect your decision on how to vote? I hired lawyers. I've looked into this 100 times, and I've drawn a conclusion that either I have to file and tell you how much money I make, I either have to resign, or I have to fight a battle in court. Well, it's been a very expensive fight. I decided I had to fight because I want to be the governor. It required a lot of time. I put the time in. I had countless meetings over this thing, and now I've lost. The judge has said, no, you've got to file anyway. I've lost the battle. Since yesterday, I've worked with all these attorneys. I'm working with them, with my agent, trying to find out the next move. I don't know what else to do. I've drawn papers to appeal the judge's verdict, and what can I say? I've been working and working and working on this thing. It's endless. However, the bottom line is this, and this is what you came to hear. The legal geniuses feel that no matter how many times I appeal, no matter how much money I go through, eventually I will have to file financial disclosure, and these financial disclosure laws are obviously a conspiracy to keep a lot of people from running from office. The prosecutor's office has never once prosecuted anybody who didn't file financial disclosure. There are tons of politicians who don't file financial disclosure, and they never get prosecuted because they say it's not worth the time and money. But you know that I will be prosecuted if I don't file financial disclosure. They'll give me a year in jail, which I can't afford to do right now because I happen to have 3 kids and a wife and a job and a career. I don't want to face jail time for this, and I certainly do not want to pay fines. It's not right. It's a conspiracy to keep good people out of the race. Anybody who has anything in terms of children and a family has to live in a suburban community among people, has to call in a plumber. You can't sit there and talk about how much money you have. How much money do you make, Penny? You want to tell us? Yes, say something.
You know you're a millionaire.
What is that? You don't know that I'm a millionaire.
You know you're a millionaire.
I have seen today in the paper that I make $15 million a year. That's untrue.
If you make $5 million, $15 million, or $100,000.
It is no business what I make, and certainly it is absolutely no business. I am not going to sit there and discuss what I make with people, and neither are you. What do you get paid?
$30,000 a year.
Liar.
All right, 40.
I am the most honest person in the world today. Believe me, anybody who admits to having a 1-inch penis is honest. Who else is going to run for governor and tell you he knows nothing about being governor? Well, anyway, with much regret, I have to tell you now that I am resigning from the campaign. I am stepping aside, but I will run for Pope.
Oh, stop.